Hey guys, a couple nights ago I saw the movie Valerian, which was sort of a spur of the moment thing. First time I saw the trailers, I didn't think it looked that great, and I think that had a lot to do with just the fact that we're at a point in time where we've seen a lot of these CGI sci-fi type things, and nowadays they're just kind of same old thing, right? And the cast, the two stars, didn't really grab me and everything, so I wasn't sure I wanted to go see this. And then I started hearing about what Valerian was based on and how it was based on a comic that was actually pretty old and actually inspired a lot of like the big sci-fi films like Star Wars and tons of other stuff. And that really piqued my interest, that it originated a lot of the things that we love in Star Wars, even the gold bikini, which unfortunately we did not see in the Valerian movie. But yeah, I was intrigued when I heard about all that, and seeing the comics, it reminded me a lot of like heavy metal, and the film was directed by Luc Besson, who did The Fifth Element, which I totally love. The Fifth Element, which is also very heavy metal. It was basically like the live-action heavy metal movie, you know. So I became very intrigued, decided I really wanted to go see it, but not 100%. It was still a spur-of-the-moment thing. It's already been out for like a week and a half, I think, at least. So, I mean, I don't know. I just decided I wanted to go to a movie. So I went and I saw it. And so I'm here to say the movie Valerian is kind of really pretty bad. And I hate to say that because I think it deserves so much more because it was the inspiration for all this stuff. And when I was seeing like pictures from the comics on YouTube videos, I really wanted to read that comic. It looked really cool. The characters looked awesome. I really liked the Laureline character. Is it Laureline? I don't know. As much as they said it in the film, it's spelled like Laureline or Laureline. That's the female. The original comic was called Valerian and Laureline, or Laureline. And I think it was a French comic. And it's about these two agents, these like secret agents, like government agents, I guess, in space, having space adventures. And sounds really cool, but maybe it was a bit too modern. If they had made this in the 70s, it probably would have been awesome. But they made it today, and it was a lot of CGI, and I don't know if the stars were perfectly cast. Honestly, I actually really liked Laureline, or I'm going to call her Laureline. I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be said. That actress, Cara Delevingne, she was from Suicide Squad, and I did not like her in Suicide Squad. So I didn't really think I was going to like her in this, but I did. I liked her quite a lot in this. But the writing was really bad. And I hate to say that because I know the writer is generally very good. But from the beginning, okay, the movie starts off with a sort of a montage, I don't know if that's the best word for it, of showing through the decades or centuries, both, I guess, of progress of man's exploration of space, and the background playing Ground Control to Major Tom, the David Bowie song, and that part was amazing. So they started off on the right foot, and I was starting to think, wow, I know this is getting bad reviews, but this looks really cool. So I was getting really into it, right? And then they introduce, where people are first meeting aliens, and that was still pretty cool because it was the aliens really reminded me of like heavy metal and Fifth Element. So that was really cool, and I was really on board for this. And eventually, though, we get to our stars, who are secret agents, and they're going on a mission. And I don't remember what happens first. I think they're in the middle of a mission, or else they're on their ship. I don't even remember, because it goes back and forth. Of course, they're on their ship. They're conversing. That's when the dialogue gets really bad. Whatever happened with the mission, this is when the dialogue gets really bad. They're on their ship, and they're building up the lead character, Valerian, the guy character, as though he's this ladies' man and everything. And I guess nowadays a guy like this could be a ladies' man, but watching it as somebody a little older, I'm kind of like, really? It's that guy who played, I don't know this actor's name, but he played Green Goblin or Hobgoblin in the Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield. And yeah, he was, his acting's fine. He's a good actor and everything. I just wasn't totally buying it. And then, I don't know, both of these two looked really young, as much as I thought Cara Delevingne looked really good in this. And I liked her in this, but to be like secret agents for like, or at least government agents in space, I don't know, they really seemed young for that. And I'm not going to say they didn't have chemistry. I know people have been saying that. Maybe they didn't, or maybe they just didn't match up right, but I think the real problem was the dialogue. I mean, this was really bad dialogue. Part of it, I think, could have been better if... It's like, if I had read these comics and I knew these characters, maybe I wouldn't have had quite the issue, because for one thing, I kind of felt like I was being thrust into this like world with these characters, and I was supposed to know them already, because they were really throwing their character traits at us at the beginning, and they kind of do. They just don't feel like they got developed. It just felt like this was a sequel or something. Boom! Here are these characters, and this is who they are, and what they're all about. And I mean, early on in the film, Valerian proposes to Laureline. I don't. And through the whole movie, it's like that whole, will she say yes or whatever, and it's like, this is kind of like sequel material, I think. But anyway, so that was a big thing. It was like we were supposed to know these characters and like them already from the beginning, and that was a big problem, besides the fact that the dialogue often was extremely cheesy. Oh, and wait a minute, even before we meet these characters, we meet this race of aliens on this planet, and it's basically a paradise planet. And this like very like natural race of aliens, they just, all they do is fish for pearls, and they live on the beach, and they're very like, they dress in sort of a primitive way, and their whole world is supposed to be so perfect and everything. And there's a princess, and they focus on this princess, and she just keeps doing these, they're not speaking English, of course, and they barely talk actually in this introductory sequence, and she just keeps spinning around like an idiot, and trying to like emote how perfect her world is and how perfect her life is. I got the point, but it was really, really annoying to watch. She was just so goofy. And I will say this, the CGI is very impressive, to where with these characters, with this race of characters, I couldn't tell sometimes if they were actual people and they used CGI to change them up a little, or if they were entirely CGI. Because sometimes it looked like maybe they were real actors, other times it looked like this has got to be totally CGI. But she was so annoying. Spoiler alert, this princess character dies at the very beginning, after like way too long of seeing her spin around repeatedly because she was so in love with her life, which is great, but the spinning around like this was just so dumb. That's all I can say. It was so stupid looking. And why do these like perfect beautiful alien creatures always have to look like tall and lanky, like the same as with the Pandora. What is it called? Avatar world, which I don't know. I like short girls, but I do like thin girls, but I like short girls. But anyway, it's like ideal. It's like that supermodel ideal of the runway model ideal of anorexic beauty. Again, I admit it. I like skinny girls, but they always look the same in these movies. These like this beautiful race of aliens. I don't know, but yeah. So that was the very beginning. Actually, that was. I think that was after the. I don't know if that was before or after when they were showing the ground control to Major Tom bit, but that part was really. So you had something at the beginning that put me on the right mood, and then you had something that really turned me off. And I guess that's kind of the way the whole movie was, because it had aspects that I liked, but when the writing is one of the worst aspects, and yeah, it was just hard. It was just hard to take. And I actually fell asleep midway through the movie. You know, Valerian is actually the name of a sleep drug. So, yeah, I did fall asleep, but I think that's because I had a long day at work. But I don't think the movie was all that boring. I just was drowsy, and and I hate falling asleep at the movies, but I did a little bit, but not long, not for much. It was a lot of random sci-fi action. They were trying to. Valerian and his girlfriend, basically, Laureline, were trying to retrieve some little animal that these creatures needed. They weren't doing it for the creatures, they were doing it for the government. But the creatures, the aliens, this alien race, wanted this little creature because they needed to save their race. So, and then, of course, there was a twist about a villain, and I don't want to do spoilers. That princess thing mentioning that she died, that was the very beginning of the movie. But anyway, so yeah, it's just a space adventure, trying to retrieve some item and then take it back to a location, and then they find out somebody else needs that item more. and there's a secret conspiracy. Standard stuff. But, you know, good stuff. It wasn't necessarily the plot that bothered me, even though it wasn't, I don't think it was a very original plot. But it had original ideas in it, cool sci-fi stuff. It was fine as a sci-fi movie, except for the dialogue. And that I felt the lead a little miscast. I mean, he was trying to be like a Han Solo smooth guy. And, I mean... And I got nothing against that actor, and I think he's a good actor, but I wasn't buying him as the ladies' man that he was supposed to be. But again, I think that might be the look of ladies' man guys nowadays. I don't know. It's possible. The younger generation, maybe that's... I don't know. But overall... Well, wait a minute. Let me say, there's a scene with Rihanna in it. Rihanna plays... an alien. I'm gonna say she was like a prostitute, basically. I think, but like she worked in a club where she would dance for you, and she could change into all these different any look that you wanted, basically. And for a lot of the time, she was also Rihanna, but she also turned into Laureline, and she turned into other things, and her natural look was like a sort of a jello kind of alien. But and it was an interesting idea, but again, her dialogue was just terrible. and she looked great, but this dialogue in this movie, it just really hurt the movie. They needed to get somebody else in for the dialogue writing. But other than that, I did like, the effects were great. I don't know if this was released in 3D. I didn't see any 3D screenings on the marquee there, but it seems like the kind of movie that would be in 3D, and it probably would have been better in 3D. But no, I just saw it in 2D, which I usually do. I don't really go see 3D movies because it's usually, the effect usually doesn't seem very strong. People always say that 3D at the movies is better than 3D at theme parks. I have not had that experience. When I go to theme parks, I'm much more impressed by the 3D in their movies. The 3D comes out at you. The 3D at the movies, when you go to the theater, goes inward, if it has any effect at all. And what good is it if it's going inward? That doesn't do anything for me. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that. This movie was not in 3D. I don't know if they released it at all in 3D, but that's weird because it looked like it was supposed to be in 3D. There was a lot of cool sci-fi stuff. There were a lot of cool visuals. Visually amazing. I just wish they got a script doctor in there. Maybe entirely different casting. I don't know. At least for as much as I enjoyed Cara Delevingne, that was a lot just because I found her really attractive. Which again, I did not in Suicide Squad, but I did here. Seemed like a different actress practically. But and I loved Suicide. I actually really liked Suicide Squad. I loved that movie for the most part. It wasn't perfect, but I really enjoy that movie. Not my favorite idea for the Joker or anything, but I can take him. I can tolerate that Joker. I thought the movie was good, Suicide Squad, but this one, I liked Cara Delevingne more in this, but I didn't like the movie very much. I hate to say it. I wish that a movie, a comic, you know, the source material, the history that it had, makes me wish this was a better film. It's just not a good movie. That's pretty much all there is to it. I do recommend watching it once at least if you're a sci-fi fan and it comes on Netflix or something, to give it a shot because of its history and everything. I think if you're familiar with the comics, you might get a lot more out of this. Because I think part of the big problem with the dialogue, at least early on, because there's bad dialogue throughout, but early on, part of the problem is that they're acting like you know these characters already and you don't. But so maybe if I did, but there was still bad dialogue throughout. Like I said, Rihanna's character, just terrible cheesy dialogue. But there were some really good moments. There were some really heavy metal moments. There's this whole scene. The worst part of it is Rihanna's there doing terrible dialogue. But there's this whole scene where they are captured by these really gross aliens, and one of them is about to eat Laureline, and that was a great scene. That whole thing reminded me of heavy metal, the movie or the magazine, take your pick. And I really liked that scene, and I wish that, well, the movie had a lot of stuff like that. That was just the best one. So it had a lot of reminiscent of heavy metal stuff. This is the dialogue. It was terrible. I don't know. If you're curious, check it out. It has good qualities. It has bad qualities. It's just got that cringeworthy dialogue that makes you embarrassed that you're watching it. That's the main thing about this one, guys.